Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 214 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Blake Allison and Joey Chicago from Devour the Day, I want to remind you about everything you can find online at mistresscarrie.com. You'll find every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast and my weekly video show, Cocktails in the War Room. You could read my blog and check out the concert and events calendar to see every show passing through New England and all of the places you can come and hang out with me. You can send me a message right here in the studio just by clicking the Message the Studio button and let me know what you thought about this week's episode, and you can shop in the online Mistress Carrie store. Find all that and more at mistresscarrie.com. Blake Allison and Joey Chicago Walser make up Devour the Day, the band that rose from the ashes of Egypt Central. Both guys are also members of Pop Evil. And as they hop back and forth between both projects, Devour the Day is getting ready to release their new EP on Friday called Fragments of Us. The new single, Outsider, also debuts this Friday, July 12th. Blake and Joey talked about their pets and playing music festivals and cruises. We also talked about everything from Titanic and their nightmares to sneakers and OnlyFans, foot fetishes and belly buttons, throwback t-shirts, and new metal, and Spinal Tap, and releasing albums versus singles. When I tell you this interview went off the rails, that doesn't even begin to describe it. But I had an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to have him on the show again. So allow me to introduce you to Blake Allison and Joey Chicago from Devour the Day. What's going on, guys?
Hey. Hello.
Happy post 4th of July. Are you in hot dog comas? Did you survive?
I got
the
both my
fireworks?
hands.
That's what I was going to ask.
Good. All my fingers. Oh, yeah, like you're gonna burn them off.
Oh, you don't blow them up. Yeah, it's like a huge deal.
It's a big deal. Big holiday. I'm going to remove our studio animal real quick.
See, now usually it takes me a bit when I talk to bands to get to the Geezer Butler question, but I'm just going to get it out of the way right now because the cats keep walking in front of the camera. So just to explain, I would not normally ask bands about their pets. However, Geezer Butler came on the show and offered the information that he had 13 cats and 5 dogs.
Whoa.
When I asked him how he kept track of them all and how he named them all, he said he named them all after gangster rappers and repeated every rapper name that Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath has as a pet.
That's pretty awesome. I can't lie.
His house must smell.
I'm sure he's got land.
Yeah.
They're all outdoor
around.
cats.
Yeah.
They should be outdoor.
Yeah.
But from that moment on, every band gets asked the Geezer Butler question, but I blame Geezer. So you got to tell me about the pets and where you came up with the names.
I don't know where she went, but
it starts with the dog that is sitting at our feet begging for attention right now. His name
show him.
His name is Po Boy. I don't know if I can pick
him up. He has lift legs. Here's Po Boy, and here's Shrimp.
So they're a sandwich.
Yeah. And they love each other. They really do. But this is our studio sandwich.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Just love all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like Steve Irwin right now.
Well, the beauty of it when you are in your own studio, which I love to see the bands in their workspace because you just never know what kind of weirdness is going to be around. But I work out of my own studio now, which is amazing because you can leave your favorite pen, you can leave your cell phone charger, like nobody's going to steal all your stuff. And the other thing that you can do is, I don't know if you can see her back there.
Yeah.
But my pug Wednesday sleeps on the couch and watches me
Wednesday,
work.
that's
Yeah,
great.
she's right there.
Yep. We have our studio cat will sit right. You can't see this, but right underneath where the camera is, right in front of the computer, and just like she'll like as we're like working and typing and things like that, we'll get a paw on the keyboard, adding some information.
My God.
She's really great at
little desk ornament.
She's good with spreadsheets. She's a hard worker.
She books all our tours.
Yeah.
Please tell me you've gotten to the psycho level that the cat and dog have social media.
Oh, we haven't gotten there.
Oh.
We struggle enough with our own desires to be on social media. I mean, we do it because we love our music and we love our art and we love our fan base and we want to connect in every way possible.
It can be overwhelming, though.
And I think I'm raising kids, they're 13, 14, really seeing like the limit on what can happen with their mental health. And like, I just think it's something to be cautious about for sure.
I got some bonus teenagers when I got married. And it really kind of made me appreciate the simplicity of how things were when I was like waiting in line for concert tickets and like that mystique around like the bands that like they almost weren't human because there was no access. If you knew someone that ever met a rock star, it was like, oh my God.
Well, and I think you could love art without it being attached to the person who might have been the face of the brand or the team or whatever. I mean, these teams that create this, from the band to the management, it's all so big. But I think the art itself could just live in this other world. And as much as I do love a lot of parts about the new way of releasing music, I do miss that as well.
Yeah, I remember growing up and just thinking like Tom Morello was a superhero. And like you would never get access to a person like that, and like all of rock, the rock world, Metallica, everybody was they were all superheroes.
But Tom, if you're listening, you're still a superhero.
Yeah, I was going to say Tom still kind of is a superhero. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like kids, they don't get the, like their generation of artists are not, they're so accessible. They have so much of their lives on social media, and you really know who that person is to the core, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm sure that's good and bad, but the superhero style of it just doesn't feel like it's there.
Well, that's what was so groundbreaking about the original Osbourne's reality show. Like we all got to see Ozzy at home and growing up, regardless of the generation of Ozzy fan, whether you were a 70s Sabbath fan or an 80s and 90s just Ozzy fan, to see Ozzy eat breakfast, it changed all of our DNA.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah. Now he's about to become a cartoon with Lemmy, I read recently. That's pretty cool.
Well, he's finally getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist too, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
It seems overdue.
Yeah, it is. 44 years. He goes, not bad for a guy that got kicked out of my last band.
Yeah. His new song his voice sounds excellent too.
Yeah.
It sounds so good.
Well, rumor has it that like the Parkinson's and all of the things he's dealing with have not affected his voice at all. Whereas have you guys seen the Celine Dion documentary yet?
I have seen parts of it. It's kind of heartbreaking. Yeah. Poor thing.
Like the fact that stiff person syndrome that she's dealing with, the first thing it kind of went after was her vocal cords, which for someone like Celine Dion is like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would make you reevaluate who you are a little bit. I think it would probably, for me, I think it would shine a light in on the parts of you that really make you that don't have to do with music, and I think that could be encouraging. It could be like, okay, here's a forced new chapter of my life. I don't know, you have to take it on like that, or it could be so overwhelming, I feel like.
Who had a good story like that is Shania Twain. She got Lyme's disease and it redid her ability to sing. She had to relearn it. But that period, the documentary that is out there shows like pretty much the way that she dealt with it and how she like went she became very reclusive and is just trying to like rebuild her voice from, being what it was to where it is now. It's a pretty amazing process. Kudos to you, Shania. You go, girl.
And Lyme disease is also made worse by stress. And when your famous husband leaves you for your best friend, that probably doesn't help. Because that was all in the documentary, too.
It destroyed me when that happened.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
He's still recovering.
I mean, Mutt Lange in the world of rock, right? I mean, when you're talking about like the biggest rock albums ever.
Yeah.
There are certain producers that are almost as famous as the records they helped to make, and he's kind of one of those guys.
Oh, for sure. I don't envy that relationship at all.
Well, what you guys are talking about, I think, is something that everybody kind of wrestled with a little bit through COVID. And I had to go back and look to see the first time I met you guys, and it was back like in early 2015 in Boston at WAAF. And I have this crazy picture of us. We all look like we're 4 years old at this point, right? And when WAAF got sold in 2020, like 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, what you guys are talking about, learning who you are outside of what you do, I think is something that's universal at this point, because everyone, for the most part, had what they do change or affected because of COVID. And I think we all collectively as a society had to go through this, who the hell am I if I'm not that period because of COVID?
It's like 1000% for me personally. That's that looking in like that. We had many conversations because we had just separated from our label that had just gone in this huge takeover. Razor and Tie was taken over by Fearless and blah, blah, blah. And we talked about the word education a lot and really poured in to educating ourselves on every aspect. And I think that's really what led to where we are now with Devour the Day. I mean, there's been a gap with what we released, but it was intentional because we were taking back control of our lives and looking at the value system too, like this rat race for validity through social media, or like the need to like kind of posture was something that we had already done and felt no fulfillment from. And we knew that, like, knowing we were putting out the music the way we wanted to, knowing that we owned our music, we owned our streaming, we were going to take the long road. We were going to work with the radio people who believed in music still, and it wasn't about money or any of that. Like, and because we've been around long enough to know the real process. We've interviewed every manager. We've had Universal Publishing deals. We've had 4 record deals. All that is not a flex. That's just all the different mistakes we made on one list. You know what I mean? And I think it's come full circle. And I think for a lot of people, I think too, that's why there's like this thing where if you see someone else in the world where they've taken that independence, for us, I recognize that. And I'm like, you're badass. I see what you're doing. I know it's not easy. I know you wake up some days and you're still in posture fest and it's like, what am I doing? But I'm right here with you on the underground. And that feels so good. Weeks are not easy, but we feel so much fulfillment from knowing we're doing that. And then somewhere in there, we got asked to play for Pop Evil too. So that was just like, yeah, bring it on board. Let's just do it all.
Throw another log on the fire. It's all good.
Yeah. It's a full reinvention of life. And that's exciting and has made it still like an adventure, even 20 years in. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, that's why I was excited to talk to you guys, because I had to do that with my career too. I had to start my own company, build my own studio, figure out if I didn't work for that radio station that I was at for 29 years, then what was I? Who was I without that? And to build everything back up from the ground up, it's exhausting. It's emotionally torturous. And yet at the same time, so fulfilling and wonderful. And it's like getting slapped across the face and kissed almost simultaneously every second of every day.
That's going to stick with me forever, actually. I feel like we're getting kiss slapped right now. You know what I'm saying? Just one of those days.
Yeah.
But I totally recognize it. And one of the questions that I've always asked bands is, it's kind of like an athlete question. Like, is it harder to get to the big leagues or is it harder to stay in the big leagues? And I think for you guys, you've had to do both multiple times.
Yes. Yes, I think, we had our first band, Egypt Central, which we were writing and we were writing all that stuff. And we were so young. And I mean, we were at a point where we thought if you couldn't drink a bottle of Jack Daniels every night and all that, I mean, that was still seriously a part of the rock culture. You had to cut your teeth or no one would take you seriously that way. That was a real thing, I feel like. Or an alcoholic, excuse me.
We grew up watching Michael Anthony from Van Halen and Slash literally do that on stage. So
100%, 100%. And so I think in the midst of that, we had such a trajectory or a thought of what life was going to be like early 20s. And then White Rabbit, which has 116 million streams, even now, we're in the middle of releasing that when our singer quit. It was at radio when he quit. And so that was just such a huge awakening in my life of how thin the line is of what you actually have ownership and what how quickly life can change and all those kind of things. And I think that really did plant the seed of independence. And I'm sure you remember as things started to adjust for you at radio, you started to know what you're going to have to do to survive because you could see it coming. And I think that that's probably the best thing that happened is being able to see it coming because we had so many things fall apart on the way towards the world falling apart. So
one of the things that does come out of it, as terrible as it all is, between the COVID stuff and also the industry changes that were coming, whether or not COVID happened at all, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, we are in my opinion, a renaissance of rock and roll. That we are in this time of unbelievable reinvention, rebirth, and creativity in rock that it's palpable. You just see it everywhere. Do you guys feel like that?
I definitely do.
100%. I mean, I feel like even when I go back and listen to things that, that came out 10 years ago, I'm thinking, this is the old way that records were made. And this is the way, and that's not that long ago, but records these days are so loud and they have so much energy in them. I love it. I love what's happening with music. And I feel like, we've been making music for 20 years, if not more than that.
It's more, you old bastard.
And honestly, the way that, we envisioned what we were writing back then, it's now it just almost feels like now is the time that it's coming out like that. I feel like the songs that we've been writing and even in the genre and everything, we were always pushing the limits of what we could get away with. But we were limited by the way that records were made and blah, 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 blah. So now that it's now that we can sit here in this room and work a song for 10,000 hours and it be, exactly what we envisioned or a version of it, that's just that's exciting to me. Artists, even singular artists by themselves can sit and work on 3 minutes and 30 seconds worth of music. And it can be exactly as they envision it. And that is not the way it used to go down, and I just, that's exciting, Yeah.
And I think too, we always talked about when we were early in our career, how how long it was from conception to release for art. And that's one of the coolest things is like we're making adjustments on the EPs we're writing as information's coming in on the songs that are on the same EP, and you can actually like flow with your fan base if you choose to curate for them. I mean, some people curate for the mass, but we've learned that like our what we love to do is curate for our niche, and that has been one of the coolest things to get real-time reaction and then go into the studio. And that being said, I think there are huge artists on the on what's going on that are collaborating. They're creating a huge attention for rock and roll. And there's always going to be the light and dark of that, like people hating or dislike whatever, any person. That probably goes back to freaking the Beatles and Billy Idol and all the way through the whole thing, right? Like, but all that attention on our genre makes me so hype. Like it means big festivals and everything growing and more people and a culture. And I love all of that.
Well, you talk about festivals. You guys are playing one of the biggest ones this year, Incarceration, which when you look at lineups, I'll say it this way. I went to Woodstock 94. I went to Woodstock 99. I was there for both, total polar opposite experiences for me and everyone else that was at both. But there was a long time where America was waiting to get the festivals the way we saw people in Europe get the festivals.
Totally.
And America has got the festivals now. These shows are insane.
They're my favorite thing to do by far. I mean, you get to, it's like summer camp because you get to see all your friends. And then just to play for that many people who have like shut their regular life off for 3 days so we can all lose it together. It's the best time.
I do have to ask you guys, because every band I know, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger trend all the time. Who thought it was a good idea to put like 3,000 or 4,000 rock and metal heads on a giant ship in the middle of the ocean? Because you guys are on Shipwreck next year. To me, that concept is both exciting and scary as hell.
Speaking of scary, he went last year.
Last year's Shipwreck, the boat hit the pier in Jamaica and got stuck.
I saw
because it was taking on water. So you add that to a bunch of people screaming metalheads, and alcohol, and then you add in like there are speakers everywhere all over the boat that are playing music, 24 hours a day, and whoever picked the playlist this year or last year picked the most aggressive metal screaming music.
Probably
so it's like
be an emergency.
It's like no matter where you are on the boat, you are listening to like metal drums. And I loved it at first, but when the boat had the potential of sinking, it was nothing but chaos. Yeah. So yes, no, it's exactly what you envision. It is the most fun that you can have too, because you are on a boat with a bunch of like-minded people who love the same thing that you love. And that I feel like is really, really, really cool, because it just doesn't happen when you are in your hometown, when you're walking around your city that you live in. It's like you see people, but when you see another metalhead, you're like, "Suh, dude," and that's the way it is on the boat. So like you're just walking around going, "Suh, dude, suh, dude, suh, dude." For a week. It's great.
It's a long way from Jack and Rose listening to a string quartet on the deck of the Titanic. Like,
yes.
Completely.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I know how that movie plays out. I know how this boat is going to go
Did you turn to your girlfriend and say, "It's been an honor"?
No. I said, "You're going to let me on that barn door."
Yeah, there's plenty of space on the barn door.
There was room for Jack on that door, damn it. I know that James Cameron tested it, but there was room for him.
Yeah, they're definitely.
Leonardo DiCaprio's not that big of a guy.
No, they could have huddled together for warmth. Come on.
You guys touched on this a little bit, and it's definitely one of the changes in the industry right now. The idea of releasing music as just singles, as multiple EPs, or waiting and releasing a full-length album. The answer to that question through the 70s and 80s and 90s was obvious, right? That most bands would just wait to release, and it was like a 2 to 3 year cycle, unless you're Nine Inch Nails or Tool, where you wait like a decade. But otherwise, it's like you tour, you write an album, you record an album, and then the album comes out and the mechanism feeds itself. Talk to me about the discussion you guys have about how you're releasing new music now and how your mindset has changed from 10 years ago.
Well, I would just start by saying that it's all a very, very exciting experiment, because each way you release is different. There's pros and cons on both sides. I think that right now what we're experiencing, what our fans are responding to, is just this constant stream of new music, that we are supporting. That's working for us, and we like it a lot, because for us, we can work on a song like Joey was mentioning earlier. We'll work on a song, and right when we get to the last minute of it being finished, it's on its way to DSPs for distribution.
Yeah.
And by the time that song has been accepted by those DSPs, we're working on the next one and getting it to a point where we got a deadline of a week, so we're working on that song up until that moment, which is fun, because that's what our dream is to do, is to wake up every morning and work on music. Like that never changed for us, as we were talking earlier about how the pandemic changed things. Like we've always wanted to be in a space where we were waking up working on music, playing it or recording it. So I think in the future, as far as putting bulks of music together, I think we're still in the mindset that we could experiment with that too, and go that route. We have an EP that's dropping on the
next Friday, baby.
Yeah, the 12th,
yep.
Which we're very, very excited about. And so, if I was going to say anything about like the nature of the business, I think that we're going to continue to get the spectrum of it. We're going to get singles, full albums, just on, whatever works for each individual artist.
I think too, like there's kind of a shell that people are kind of becoming aware of, that like that these decisions to release this way are totally artistically driven, which is just not true. As we're running our own label, we know that like for every label, every band, so much of this is data, and so much of how the industry has changed has to do with like, you put out a song and they want to see numbers. Every label is telling you to do all these short form content, every element of the almost like the same path that you're hearing. And every band, no matter if it's, honestly, I'm not going to say a name, but no matter who it is, you're having to prove yourself and your worth on every single song. And I think that that's important, that people understand the reality of that. No, it's not like touring has completely saved itself from the pandemic either. So I think the reason why you're seeing so many singles released, a lot of it has to do with like literally groups of people having to prove themselves one song at a time. And I think that the reason I bring that up is because even though that's what we're having to do, we make those decisions as well. We're allowing our fan base and our niche, because what we own everything, they're dictating how we feel about the success. Is that value short form data? Is that value just a ton of comments saying this is a beast of a song? Like what do we value the most when we get that reaction? Whereas I feel like a lot of it in the label sense is like, did the last track make money? And if it didn't, well, then we'll start reducing your budgets as you go through the rest of your singles. And you see it all the time. Awesome first video. But if it doesn't strike, you just see this downward slope through the singles. And I think that the industry itself is going to have to correct that, because I do think fan bases are starting to realize like, hey, this isn't like just everybody's doing the single thing. It's not just to be cool. This is actually the restructuring of the machine to help the machine. Like, that's what it is, and you need it. You really do need the machines sometimes. We obviously we play for Pop Evil. You see so many people working on one project, a project that's been around 20 years, 9 number ones. That takes a certain level of a group, a community. But when we were refocusing on reestablishing Devour, we wanted to try to create something a little bit different so that we were making decisions based on what the fans were doing, not necessarily how much money it was making. Even though we do like to support our families, so please, next week, stream our new EP, Fragments of Us. Yeah, we like food and we need it.
Well, that mechanism you're talking about, right, is something we have similar. I have absolutely no musical ability, cannot write songs, but that constantly proving yourself, when you're on the radio side of things, it's the ratings that feed
100%.
that mechanism. And the ratings come out, and unlike a lot of other industries, I love this, and I'm sure someone at some point has said this to you guys because they always say it to me. It's not personal, it's business, right? And for a band, it's personal because this is all of you poured into the music.
Yes.
And for a radio DJ, they're literally judging you based on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you're there behind the microphone, but it's not an act. I mean, I guess in some genres maybe it is, but I think you guys know in rock, you either live the lifestyle, are who you are, and you're real with your audience, or it doesn't work. And so when you're sitting there waiting for these ratings that are literally like votes on whether you get to keep your job or not, that level of stress does not always feed creativity and great content. And like, you're literally sitting there and you can feel yourself making cancer cells. Like you can just feel it. You're like, what am I doing?
Yes.
So when you guys talk about that, I can totally relate
right.
because we're on opposite sides of it, but it's still the same.
Of course, it absolutely is. And I think even for almost for every creator, there's been there's an adjustment. There's a known acidity to how we're having to operate as well. It's like, hey, we're all going to take this acid bath. We'll all be missing our skin. Don't worry about it.
This is a good, I like this metaphor. I feel like we're going to the right direction.
Yeah. Don't worry. Everyone's real fleshy on the other side.
Just shave our skin off as a group.
It'll be fine.
I'm not sure what we're talking about anymore. But
I should have warned you that the show, especially now that it's a podcast where we could talk about whatever we want for as long as we want, that it ends up being a therapy session a lot.
And I need a lot of therapy, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
You can invoice us.
This Friday, the 12th, which is when the EP is coming out, is a big day for releases too, because we're getting the Hardy record, we're getting Tim Montana's record. Eminem just decided to flippantly announce last week, hey, I'm going to release a new album. And that's a good thing because it's got everybody paying attention to all of this new music. So you guys picked a good day to release it.
yeah, we are noticing that, like that. I think in the past we've tried to avoid other people's releases, but what we're seeing is that when more people are on Spotify or YouTube or iTunes, like they are spending more time there, and that's just good for everything. It's more of like an all ships rise with the tide type of platform now, which is cool. And I hate that word platform.
I know.
I'm just gonna say that.
But there's a million songs plus coming out every day, and I think I think it speaks into what we've been discussing, like making that first day sales, all that kind of stuff is such a big and has been such a big meter of judgment, essentially, or measurement for a band. And we've really learned too over the last couple of years that like it's not just release day, it's the rediscoverability of just making sure that you really truly believe in your art, so that over the next 5 years, as someone stumbles across it, it has the authenticity and the truth and the honesty that it needed to be resilient against marketing and trends anyway. And so that is why we take so much time with our songs and feel so strongly about them.
Well, for the first time, it's the same on the radio side. Before, when I started my career, if you said something stupid, it was gone forever once it was live. Now with podcasting, like you're saying, people are discovering episodes from 5 years ago, and you all of a sudden look on the back end of it and go, what episode are they listening to today? And then you go and you're like, that's 4 years old. How did that show up on the algorithms today? And you just don't know. And then you're like, oh man, did I say something stupid 4 years ago? Because you have to own it all.
Am I getting canceled right now? Is it something
By
I
myself?
said 4 years ago?
Look, that's a thing. When you go back and listen to old interviews, I go back and listen to stuff. I could probably go back and listen to the time you guys came on my show 10 years ago and be like, I can't believe we said that on the radio 10 years ago.
I hope not. No, I hope not. I think we were always so PC.
Yeah, we were very good.
Yeah, so was I.
As they say.
Yeah, we're
we
good.
interviewed.
You don't even need to go back and check that.
Yeah. I was known for my PC-ness too, trust me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I
feel like the cell phone, like and a live show, we, same thing. It's like you could go play a show, you'd never see evidence of that show that you played. You can say whatever you want on stage. Now everybody's got a phone and they can record whatever you say or however you messed up a song or whatever, and it's like it's on your socials the next day because they tag you in it. You're like, man. Missed that note. Oh, well.
Well, that brings me to the Spinal Tap question that I have to ask you. And your Spinal Tap moment's probably on YouTube, but they're making a new Spinal Tap movie.
I heard.
Every band has got that moment. Spinal Tap has proven over the decades to be true.
Yeah.
And every person, every performer has got that moment that you're like, oh my God, I'm living in Spinal Tap right now. So what is yours?
I'd say recently we were.
I have no idea what you're going to say.
You know that moment where they pull down the Stonehenge thing and it's like this big.
He says in the movie, making a big deal out of it would have been a good idea.
Right. Yeah. So it's like when we're going for production, like there's always a moment where it's like you want to shoot for like this, large scale production, but it's like, what can you take? What can you afford? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, I was like, remember that moment in Stonehenge when they pulled out that tiny little Stonehenge and they're like, it's not that great. And I just, we gearing up for tours is kind of like that. So they're very true. Like, is it cool to go like with this giant video wall, or is it better to have a bunch of lights,
Mine will always be getting lost at arena shows. Like trying to find, I think I mention it every time when I lose my dressing room. I'm like, we're in a Spinal Tap moment. We're just going to be looking for the stage. And that's actually turned into my reoccurring nightmare, which is I can't find the stage and I can't find my shoes to play. And I'm just running through endless halls with socks and no shoes. And I'm like, where are my Jordans? This is awful. And so I've taken that Spinal Tap moment into my subconscious, I think, too.
I don't think this happens in Spinal Tap, but my reoccurring like stage fright nightmare is that the hi-hat on my drum set will not stay there and it just keeps falling off and falls off the riser. But nobody, including the audience, cares. Like it's
or helps you.
Like I stop playing, but the band's just going. Like and nobody can help. Nobody cares. And I go to pick it up. I put it back up on the stage. I keep playing. It falls off again, over and over and over again. I wake up in a cold sweat. Not true. But
see, we have to dive deep into this therapy session to figure that one out because I cannot. Yeah, I don't know what the hi-hat represents in the grand scheme of things. I just don't understand.
Control.
Yeah.
Wow, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Having control over the stage.
Somebody's got an issue.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. Actually, I'm leaving here and going straight to therapy.
I think anybody that works in any kind of performance, like I think every DJ at one point or another has had that dream where like you're off the air, that the buttons don't work, that you're off the air and your boss is like yelling at you and you can't figure it out. And like, it's just, you have these fever panic dreams. And it's so nice when they go away for a while and then you notice they went away and then they come back. As soon as you go, I haven't had that dream in a while, you're fucked.
At night.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to happen tonight because we talked about it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I'll be falling asleep. I'm like, what? Yeah.
You mentioned your Jordans. Are you a sneakerhead?
Oh, absolutely. I have I grew up in Chicago. Like I was actually a Chicago kid, not just like watching from afar from another city. Like it was my youth. My dad worked for 35 years at Vienna Beef, which is like the Chicago hot dog. And so like the shoes represent essentially a ratatouille of my entire childhood experience. And so I love them very much. And then in the last 2 years got into, as the community has gotten so huge, got into customizing sneakers. And so if you go to my Instagram, one of my tags is Joey Chicago Customs. And I do all kinds of custom work on Air Force Ones and Vans and stuff like that as just a side thing that has become a side business because so many people have enjoyed and ordered them. But I truly just love the medium of taking something digital that I've drawn on my iPad and then putting that into real life and manifesting that into a tangible thing. I send them in these really cool gun cases, custom gun cases. And people really, really love them. So Joey Chicago Customs, if you want to check them out. But yeah, to say sneakerhead, that's lightly. I have a few.
See,
I come to the studio with different shoes every day.
No, he'll send me pictures and be like, I got them. Like, what did you get? He's like, I got these shoes. It's like, you got another pair of shoes? One more?
I'm envious of that. I can't collect shoes like that because I have 2 different size feet. So every pair of shoes I get, I have to get 2 pairs, which you as a sneaker guy know that can get really expensive really fast.
Yeah, and your resale would be weird on having one that's untouched and
one that's been worn and one that's still brand new in the box.
I'll tell you what,
you've got a backup pair, right? No, I'm just kidding. That doesn't.
No, because it's the total opposite.
Yeah.
My husband's telling me that I should just get rid of the radio show, get rid of the podcast, and start an OnlyFans for feet pictures because I'm sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, that's right. Your husband knows. I don't know why, but it's true.
I know.
Yeah. Feet are really
I love
important to people secretly.
Yeah.
Too. It's such a taboo.
Yeah.
When for me, it's like, it's feet, man. Like, who cares? Let them know.
I told Hardy this story because I had him on the show recently, and he was performing with the guys in Nickelback, and years ago, when Nickelback was a new band, that they were the opening act for like our Halloween party back in the day. And I was interviewing Chad Kruger backstage, and we were in costumes, and I was bitching that my feet hurt, and he took my shoes off and rubbed my feet, and someone with a film camera got a picture of it because that's how long ago it was. And I'm pretty confident Chad hasn't rubbed anyone's feet in quite a while. And going back to what we were talking about, someone found that picture in my Facebook page archives of all the pictures of all the rock stars I've ever met. And all of a sudden, my metrics went crazy because the picture of Chad Kruger from Nickelback rubbing my feet went viral.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
In the foot fetish community. And I was like, why is so many people looking at my Facebook page all of a sudden? And it was because of that foot picture from 25 years ago.
When God sends you a sign, you have to be open. You know what I mean? Got to be open to new paths.
Yeah.
And I think yours is a spicy future and foot fetish.
Yeah. I want to know how it goes.
Yeah.
Too, because
I want to see which of the feet, because they're different. Like having twins that don't look the same. Like which one stands out?
People have always told,
who's your breadwinner foot?
Well, there's the big foot is you know. Don't laugh at my birth defect, damn it! It's not funny.
Guys, no, I'm not. I'm only encouraging that the way you're made is beautiful.
Yeah, I want to know how it goes because people have been telling me for a long time that I have great feet.
No, it's because he's got drummer calves,
and that I should sell pictures. I should do an OnlyFans for my feet.
You should, so or your calves.
Well, both.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a couple of ham hocks.
Yeah right.
Well, I want to know how it goes because
Yeah,
these are tough times, you know, and if I can make $1 by selling, you know, my feet, I'll do that. I'll do that in
you
a
just
second.
Opened a door.
He takes really good photos too. So
I'm not shooting the feet. You can do that
cool,
yourself.
man. It'll be cool. Be cool. It'll be fine. Just
when I launched my company and started like my podcast, like you guys having to name a band and name records and songs, which to me seems like the hardest thing because you have to live with it forever with whatever you pick. I had to name my company. So I named my company Bigfoot First Productions. And now you guys know why.
I love that. I love that.
And now they know why too.
Oh, everybody knows. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah.
The feet, trust me, people know about the feet.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, hopefully they'll know about our new endeavor, which will be pictures of my feet.
Of your calves, your mighty calves.
Yeah.
They'll be in the foreground, or they'll
You're
be
gonna
a
get
part
home
of it,
and Paige is gonna be like, "You're not doing the calf."
No, she'll
so you know.
She'll be like,
she doesn't like him wearing shorts.
She's gonna be like, "I've been telling you for years to take pictures of your feet, calves,
to get out there and get back to work,
make that money, bring home the bacon."
Then we could do a foot collab.
Whoa!
Wow! I hope this says talking to Devour the Day. We talked foot fetish collabs. If that isn't a clickbait, I don't know where
I don't know. We're going viral, not because of the music, not because of any of that, because of our freaking feet. That's what happens these days.
I love it. If you need, I can put on a Trad Kroger mask. We can do like a, revisiting of the famous photo.
You kind of look like him. All you need is the hair.
I don't like Chad Kroger when they were coming out, or Chad Kroger now.
Chad Kroger now.
Okay,
nowadays,
all cleaned up.
That's what I'm saying. All you need is the hair. You're good.
Well, I asked you about the collecting of the sneakers thing because if there's one thing that I notice when I go back and watch all of your videos and see pictures of you guys on stage, you guys seem to be the kind of people that are always going to places looking for old T-shirts. You guys have spectacular T-shirt collections just from the stuff I've seen you photographed in and the stuff that's in your videos.
Well, thank you very much.
Your T-shirt game is strong.
Yeah, it's a new thing we're into. Like only in I would say like recently, my T-shirt, my closet has turned has turned from like black T-shirts that everything now, like my whole rig is all specialty T-shirts.
I think too, he's come to terms with his inner nerd, and he's okay letting the world know that he knows everything about Star Wars.
Well, he
knows everything about Lord of the Rings.
I was okay with it, and now that you've said that, we're here, and I have to be okay with it.
Yep.
No, I am a super dork. So
I thought the Spice Girls T-shirt was spectacular. That one threw me for a loop a little bit.
I like the Spice Girls, and so it made sense. Like I rep what I like.
Yeah, be you.
Yeah, this is a no judgment zone. You can like the Spice Girls. It's fine.
That song is a banger. It is a banger.
I love it.
Do you guys, growing up, that was like the badge of honor, right? That like that's how people knew you were at the show because you got the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people that have just emptied their closets and gotten rid of all their old T-shirts, and now people like you are going and finding them and collecting the old ones. Is there a shirt that you got rid of that you would like give your soul to get back?
Oh yeah, I have. I had all the USA team, the big head, like Olympic team, but it was the dream team. Bulls. But when they had like their NBA Jam sized heads, and they had the whole team on there. I mean, it was so cool. That shirt would sell for probably $1,000 now. Like I went shopping in Atlanta where at 5 Points, they just have like a whole area where it's old, awesome T-shirts where it's like the fabric is just different. It's not like this like print to order. It's like, I got some old Bulls stuff that's just everybody loves. So it's like hard to grab hold of, but yeah, That Olympic team shirt would have been, that's the one I wish I still had. It'd probably go to like stop like right here on me, but I'd still try to.
You'd still wear it.
I'd still wear it. I don't have an ugly belly button.
I mean, look, it doesn't matter if it is.
Don't.
You just rock it anyway.
Tell them.
Yeah. You even looked at me like, you're going to back me up, right?
Tell them.
You're going to tell them.
I got a good belly button.
Remember.
You got the calves. I got the belly button. Come on.
I don't know anything about belly button fetishes. Like I only know about the feet stuff.
Check your inbox. Oh my God.
Just kidding. Just pictures of a belly button. That's it.
From last night's fireworks.
That is the
weird.
You've seen the movie Deliverance? So I had a Lion. I had a Lion King shirt that was awesome, and it was young Simba, and he's just like happy. I think he's chasing a butterfly. That shirt slaps, and I wish I had it because I would rock that.
How old were you when you had that shirt, though? Was this last week, or are we
17.
talking?
I went to Disney World when I was in 6th grade. So I was like 11 or 12, I think.
Yeah, those are formative years.
Yeah.
And so I really wish I had that shirt.
Well, in the Disney, I mean, the industry was booming.
Yeah, Disney.
So they were still drawing things over there.
Yeah. Dude, they were. Yeah,
that's what I wanted to be.
Drawn.
I wanted to be a Disney illustrator growing up.
I wanted to be part of the Imagineers.
Yeah.
That was I wanted to just think up stuff and make it happen. That's it.
When
I heard that they just like the Imagineers come together and then they talk about stuff and then they leave and they go home. I remember my dad telling me that and I was like, that's a job. And he was like, yes, son, and you could have it one day if you work hard
and go mow the yard.
Go mow.
It's like the guy whose job it is to go into work every day and name paint colors. Like that is a job.
Yeah, I want to go out to dinner with that guy or girl and talk to them.
Yeah, I want to name streets. That sounds street names.
Being from Chicago, did it hurt your feelings that the Celtics just had a victory parade? Because that was a good duck boat parade.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, where when I was a younger fan, I was so like combative. I've now just like really learned to love seeing the cities win. And, at this point, if you're not Philadelphia and you don't burn your town down when you win, you're ahead. That's what I feel like. I mean, they won the Super Bowl and like destroyed their city. It's like, I think you're missing the point. Even though I love Philadelphia, I do.
Yeah, but they're different.
Yeah, they are. They want to fight about it.
Yeah, there are certain cities that I think are very similar, and it's because they're rock towns, but also they're kind of those blue collar sports. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking kind of towns, and Chicago's one of them. Philly, Baltimore, New York, Boston. It's like we all have that kind of vibe in common.
Everybody's busting balls. That's how it was always phrased growing up. Like, just get over it. I'm busting your balls, and it's like hardcore judgments verbalized every few moments.
Yeah.
I grew up blue collar Chicago for sure.
Yeah. How do you know if someone likes you if they're not busting your balls? Like,
yeah, you don't.
You don't, which is weird.
Too nice.
Yeah, that was about to say. You being too nice to me. There's something wrong.
Yeah. Like, what are you scheming behind my back? Because you're obviously not saying it to my face.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And I apologize for anyone I don't bust your balls. It doesn't mean I'm scheming.
He never busts my balls. What the?
Dude.
Not at all.
Don't lie to him.
My balls are swollen from getting busted.
That's awesome.
And that just fed the algorithm too.
Please don't quote that.
Swollen balls.
Swollen balls, Blake Allison says.
My
daily.
best friend's from Chicago. What are you going to do?
My balls are swollen.
Just Blake's face.
Yeah. Ow.
Oh.
Yep. And viral.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, Outsiders is coming out on Friday, and then you guys are playing Incarceration. We know about Shiprocked, but what else is kind of on the path for Devour the Day for the rest of 2024, but then also looking into 2025?
We are fully rehabilitated on the touring spectrum, I would say, like being able to go out there. We have a couple of big tours we are not allowed to announce later just yet. But we definitely going to be on the road. 2025 is going to be an adventure for Blake and I. Blake is now playing drums for Pop Evil as well. A whole record release coming for Pop Evil, first single coming soon, that we're really excited about. We had a part of that team as well, and love that team. They've been really just so welcoming to us.
Lee is like the nicest guy humanly possible.
He is a very, very nice
almost to
person.
the point where you can't trust him because he's too nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't bust any balls.
I will say you there is that, but there's also a stern leadership quality in Lee that comes out. And I think that when he's running kind of Pop Evil, and then we were running what we were doing, and I think that fusion has actually created a little community for us within Pop Evil, within the band, of like, we can talk about our experience coming up in terrestrial radio. I mean, Egypt Central Pop Evil, their first tour ever was with us. So there's this full circle family element there. And he's been so encouraging of Devour the Day. And we had a song on the last record we collabed with, and he didn't have to do any of that. And he did. And I thought that was really awesome. So all that to be said, we will be going back and forth. I think even at the end of this year, at one point, we're finishing something on the day before Thanksgiving, and then we're right back out on tour with the next band right after Thanksgiving, like the day after. So the adventure is still very much right here in our grasp. And I think not knowing exactly how that looks is really exciting for me still, we never left rock music. We never like dropped a song and then tried to be alternative or like go pop or like we never
country.
Did that. Yeah. Like, and I love all of the diversity. I don't want that to be the message. Like, we're collabing with people in country right now, in reggae right now, in metal. We want to experiment. We love all types of music. But we love the active rock world that we grew up in. We love the family that we are so familiar with and can trust. And we haven't gone anywhere in 20 plus years. And I think you'll hear that on the EP next Friday. These songs, I mean, they're banger rock songs. We're not deviating from that on our comeback. So it's been fun.
It's a testament to all of us, I think, that we've all managed to evolve and do different things. And the fact that we're all still here is pretty badass.
It's so badass.
Yeah.
Especially with the revival coming. I think that a lot of these new artists, from what I've seen on the road, whether they come up on short form or whatever, they're actually looking to artists who have navigated this and starting to heed the warnings of like, yeah, 2022, you were viral and got a record deal. Now it's 2024. You don't own any of that music. You're figuring out how to put yourself on. Like, they're all like coming to that reality of how big the machine is. And I think there's some give back that we've been able to do with other artists too, as the whole community learns that it's a very bright future over the next 5 years. And that's really exciting for us too, who we work and write with other bands and all that kind of thing too. So,
well, rock has gone through its cycles too, right? Where there were times where there wasn't a lot of great music coming out. I just talked to Sonny Sandoval from POD about this, because there's a whole group of kids now that are being raised by dads that were diehard nu metal fans when they were in their teens and 20s. Exactly. As he's raising his hand. And so those kids are looking at those, Rage records and Linkin Park and Disturbed and Korn and Limp Bizkit records as their classic rock, as their Led Zeppelin records or their Def Leppard records or whatever, as blasphemous as someone is going to think that sounds, but it's true. And
for sure.
And they're growing up looking for their generation of rock music, which goes back to what I said at the beginning, that this is a really exciting time in rock music right now. And it's because there's a lot of young people that want it.
Oh, 100%. And we feel like all they need to do is wait till next Friday to find their favorite. No, I'm kidding. We have enjoyed that.
That was very good. That was a good plug.
Good plug.
Yeah,
that
it was shameless.
Yeah, I have a lot of shame. I'm shame. Actually
there's shame there.
I got a couple backpacks full right here. I could unpack for you, but I see that. I love that. Like too, it's like it's not every band that you would think has like raised to the new pedestal. You know what I mean? I love seeing bands like Nickelback or Limp Bizkit that I remember honestly having to navigate a lot of hate.
Yeah.
Throughout the career. I mean, Limp Bizkit, as big as they got a lot of shit talked about them when they first came out, and to see them like kind of as like this holy grail to metal bands, it's kind of a cool thing.
I had issues with friends that would make fun of Limp Bizkit. Like I would be like, that is an incredible, what's wrong with Limp Bizkit?
Dude, I'm like a chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. What do you mean?
I just challenge anybody that went to those shows, because we were playing Limp Bizkit like in the very early stages, right? So we did a lot of crazy things with Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
And those were so fun. You didn't go to a Limp Bizkit show and leave going, that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah. I loved every, I mean, seriously, like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Stained, Nickelback, Creed. Like you can make fun of
Papa Roach, dude. You've been jamming Papa Roach since the
I tell people all the time, Dimebag Darrell loved Nickelback. Are you going to say that Dimebag Darrell was wrong? Because if you do, someone's
and if you do, I'll slap the taste out of your mouth.
I was just going to say, someone's coming in with a haymaker. Like,
yeah.
So on the last year's Shiprocked, as a stowaway, they asked me to perform a Nickelback song, and it was like I could tell, like everybody, like all the stowaways, they were like, "Do I really want to play a Nickelback song?" And I'm so happy that I did, because the people on that boat lost their minds when they heard Nickelback, and then
a year later, Wage War's
right, and now they're covering it.
You know, it's like. Yeah, it's like that's a beautiful thing.
I was like, "Are you ready for Nickelback?" And they was just like, "Ah!"
I do think though that should be encouraging to young artists right now who feel like any of the hate that they're getting on social media, like that, all that shit is so temporary.
Yeah,
like people will all just keep pouring into your artwork. It really doesn't matter. Like just keep releasing, because if there's a 16-year-old kid anywhere that finds this song anywhere along the next 100 years, and it positively creates a space where they relate or have escape or feel like, yeah, man, I remember getting caught by my dad when I was kissing my girlfriend. Like, even if it's that simple, it's so worth it. And it's so outside the lines of people's bullshit they try to put on you, you know?
Well, that's what's been great about rock and metal, is that we're this club where no other club wants us, so we've made our own fun. And you can be that metal guy or that rock guy if you're a little weird or whatever, but at those shows, you belong. And that's how we've kind of sheltered ourselves from everybody else who told us we weren't cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's cool.
It is. It's lasting too.
Yeah.
It's fulfilling. It's real. And my best friends in the world all over this planet are rocker people. Those are all my friends. So I defended to the last moment.
That's right.
But I think too, like shedding like this desire to like posture or any of that kind of stuff having any value to us, it's only making us more grateful for the people that we have that have done the whole arc of our journey. Whether it was when we were kids or where we're at now. I
couldn't agree more. And you know what, you guys, now that I can go back and look at a lot of my archives, I've got the old pictures of us together. So that's why I was so excited to be able to see you guys again.
Yeah, I think we met in Egypt Central a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah, but when I go back, like the early Devour the Day pictures that I have.
Oh,
But
yeah.
The Egypt Central stuff goes way before that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool to be talking to you now and have someone, and you probably feel this way too, when you actually get to have a conversation, like whether it's POD, and like can see the arc of what's happened in the music industry.
Dude, I just sat down with Morgan Lander from Kitty and talked about our trajectories together, because I was new on the radio when that first record came out. And hearing her talk about what it was like as a 17-year-old girl touring with Slipknot, and how the industry treated a band of girls then versus how the industry is now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and I mean,
that's interesting.
Compounded too. I feel like their band, if I've read right, like what they've dealt with their, personal lives and how that would be accepted. I think that's the way to say that. But I just feel like I read about them getting such a response from a festival that they were at, that it really encouraged the conversations to come back. And that's kind of like, it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
I don't think they knew how well loved they were until then.
Yeah. And I think that, and I've heard some of the new stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest part about it is that it's new. You get to know where they're at now, and you get to, and I think too, some of these older musicians that like, and they put out new stuff, it's very apparent why they were where they were before this, and to have all this resurgence of rock music and people who are feeling more confident to release. Like I said, I just think it's a very exciting time to be in this genre.
Well, I think, and they don't realize how influential they were on other artists too. Like, so many little girls grew up seeing Kitty at those shows that are in rock bands now because they saw 4 girls in Kitty do it. And I don't think that a lot of artists that are weathering this storm of trying to, stay in the music business understand how many people were watching them when they started and how influential they were.
Well, you get taught the whole time, here are the things that create value by your label or whatever. And they don't mean to, it's just the nature of it. Here's where your value is. Here's where your value is. That I think we're all starting to realize that, like, there's this whole universe of value that's orbiting what we thought it was supposed to be, which is basically money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, not that money isn't important. I'm just saying that's how the machine works. It's whatever. And I think them getting to see, like, wow, there was so much value that had nothing to do with this line of what we were being told. I love hearing that, that you had that conversation. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's totally badass. And it's been one of those things, we're revisiting all of this stuff with bands that are doing what Devour the Day is doing right now, which is taking control of your destiny and deciding to do it differently because that's going to be what works for you guys. It's amazing that it's working, that technology and all of these things has made it possible for you guys to do it, for me to do it. It's badass.
Yeah, I would even say the fans made it possible.
100%.
I mean, their consistent listening of Egypt Central and Devour the Day all the way through this has quite honestly funded our ability to be independent. We just want to stay true to that.
Yeah.
We feel indebted forever.
It was so good to see you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me in our therapy session today.
Yes.
The bill is in the mail.
Yep. Thank you so much, for real.
I can't wait to hear the EP on Friday.
Calves and Buttons. It's next 12. No, I'm kidding. It's called Fragments of Us. And a new song called Outsider is a part of that. So yeah, please check it out.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon. I can't wait to see you guys when you get back out on the road again.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
There they are, Blake and Joey from Devour the Day. The new EP, Fragments of Us, comes out this Friday, July 12th. And I want to apologize to anybody that found this episode of the podcast because it showed up in some weird foot fetish algorithm and you were highly disappointed at the feet talk. If you want to learn more about Devour the Day, check the show notes of this episode. You'll find all the links for the band and the guys as well. You'll find the Mistress Carrie links and the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all of the songs and artists that we talked about in the interview. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the sit rep. All of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. And you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. You can join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at MistressCarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.